David Jones again, week 8. What's up? At Tenacious D Jones on Twitter, Tenacious D Jones on the DraftKings leaderboards, and you can read my content under Tenacious D Jones, I think, or David Jones over at the FTN Network on ftndaily.com or on ftnbets.com. We are doing everything we can to give you an edge, including this video. So listen up. We're talking the DraftKings Showdown slate. Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers in the Bay Area, where Mr. Aaron Rodgers grew up idolizing Mr. Joe Montana. Every offseason we hear rumors that Aaron Rodgers might get traded to San Francisco. He would probably love to play there, idolizing the team, but he's not there. He's the Green Bay Packers franchise quarterback for the last decade. He's phenomenal there, and I think they win. First things first, you're watching us on the Mayo Media Network. Please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned over the next week and a half because there's going to be a ton of Masters information coming out if you're into PGA. If you haven't tried PGA on DraftKings, I think you definitely should. You get a nice 4-day sweat, and the Masters is one of the best tournaments in all of sports. I mean, it's got to be. I love the Masters. Definitely my favorite golf sporting event. Wish I could go. Augusta's about 2 miles from here. 2 miles. 2 hours from here. I wish it was 2 miles from here. And I don't have any tickets this fall. Maybe I'll get some in the spring. We'll see. I keep getting the email that they don't want me. So, let's break down this slate. Green Bay at San Francisco. Big news here is COVID has decimated the San Francisco 49ers. Today they closed down their practice facility, meaning one less day of practice to prepare with Jamycal Hasty and Jerick McKinnon and their two healthy wide receivers to go up against the Green Bay Packers. As of now, the game is still on. I'm recording this at 4:34. I think the Packers take off in 2 minutes to fly from Green Bay to San Francisco, so it appears the game is still on unless something comes out in the next 24 hours. We should have a football game. My goodness, we hope so. But let's talk about these injuries first. There's a ton of them. Jimmy Garoppolo, terrible season so far. He's not playing. He's got an ankle injury. So you're going to have Nick Mullens coming in. Nick Mullens threw for a ton in the fourth quarter. I think it was the most yards in a fourth quarter since like the 1980s, and I'm not even exaggerating. I heard that stat somewhere. I mean, he went off in the fourth quarter and kind of pulled that team back into fighting distance, but weren't able to come up with the victory. At running back, of course, we don't have Raheem Mostert. We don't have Tevin Coleman. The running backs that you're going to have are Jamycal Hasty, Jerick McKinnon, and Kyle Juszczyk at the end for $1,000. He's just a touchdown-dependent guy. They like to give him a shot once or twice. I doubt I have much of him. Way better options down there. You can pretty much cross him off. So, also, the 49ers aren't going to have Deebo Samuel. They're not going to have Kendrick Bourne, who was ruled out today with COVID-related issues. They cut Dante Pettis yesterday, I think. So they're going to have Brandon Aiyuk, who's going to be covered by J.R. Alexander, and they have Trent Taylor as their wide receivers. George Kittle's out, so that means they have Ross Dwelley and potentially Jordan Reed, who practiced in limited fashion on Tuesday. My God, it's bad. They are decimated. Decimated. In the Packers, they're decimated at the running back position, but they're going to roll out Tyler Ervin with Aaron Jones being out, with Jamal Williams being out, and with A.J. Dillon being out. So they have Tyler Ervin and they have Dexter Williams. Those are the two guys that they're playing at running back, and they're both $200 on DraftKings. What's going on? So let's address this now. If you use your entire salary this slate, you just put your money in an envelope and send it to me, because you're not going to win the $1 million up top on the showdown slate. It's not going to happen. And if you do, you're going to tie with half the field. I'm telling you, whenever you use your entire salary, you're always going to tie with someone in these big tournaments. And you might double your money if you max the thing out, but you're not going to win big money. So you do not need to use your salary. Last showdown slate, 2 showdown slates ago, the person who won it up top left $11,000 on the table, and they still didn't take it down by themselves. They made a lot of money, but that's what you got to do to take down these tournaments. You have to leave a ton of money on the table. You can leave $15,000 on the table if you want to this slate, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to be leaving a ton of money on the table, and let's talk about how we're going to do that. So, up top, Davante Adams. Arguably the best wide receiver in the league. No argument against that over here. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're just on the same level together. I mean, they're synced up. Davante Adams, $18,600 at the captain. While I don't typically like to spend up that much at the captain, I don't usually like to take the most expensive guy. It's Davante Adams, who clearly has the biggest upside on the slate aside from Aaron Rodgers. Those are your two guys that you probably want to consider at captain. So Davante Adams, $18,600. I like it. Look, Lazard might be back in this game, but I don't think that's going to hurt Adams too much. I mean, he's clearly still Rodgers' top guy, especially with them having to work in Tyler Ervin and Dexter Williams at the running back. Rodgers is just going to throw this game. Going to throw it down the field. You don't have to trust the running backs for Green Bay here. If one of them were to fumble, they're out of the game, leaves you with one running back. Rodgers, just keep throwing the ball here. You're going to do just fine. You have healthy wide receivers. You're going to be good, and you have your tight end. You're okay. Adams or Rodgers at your captain. Those are my two favorite guys. Aaron Rodgers is $16,500. I just gave you the spill. I expect Green Bay to throw it a lot here. San Francisco is going to try and keep Rodgers off the field. I just don't think it's going to work. I think Green Bay gets up in this game, and they might try and run it at the end of the fourth quarter, but we're talking 4 minutes left in the game when all the fantasy points have already been dished out. Rodgers could have a big game here. He's in the best spot with Adams. Aaron Jones next down, he's out of the game. George Kittle next down, he's out of the game. Nick Mullens, $13,800, who threw for a ton of yards in the fourth quarter. I mentioned it earlier last week. He's going to have a tough time here. They don't have any wide receivers. They have potentially two tight ends, and they've got Jamycal Hasty and Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon can act as a wide receiver type in this game. He's better at catching the ball than Jamycal Hasty. We saw it the first 4 games, double-digit fantasy points on DraftKings and double-digit points last week. And now I don't care if his legs are tired or not. That's what they're saying at 49ers camp. He's got tired legs. He's had tired legs for 2 weeks. His legs should not be tired anymore. They're going to need him here. So those are the guys Nick Mullens is going to be throwing it to, but it's certainly nothing compared to what Aaron Rodgers has. Nick Mullens is okay at the flex. It makes sense to play him at the flex because he has a solid floor in this game, and you have so many cheap options. So a 2-quarterback lineup is probably the way to go, I would think, and then go down to some of these value guys. But Nick Mullens, I don't want him at captain. I'll play him at flex, though. Williams, he's out. Brandon Aiyuk, $12,900. Very good wide receiver, especially when Deebo Samuels is out. Kendrick Bourne's out. He's going to get targeted a lot here, probably, maybe. Here's the problem with Brandon Aiyuk. He's going to be covered by Alexander, who's having a true breakout season. Alexander knows if he can cut off Aiyuk, then the 49ers are going to have a very, very tough time getting down the field and scoring points. So Brandon Aiyuk, I'm actually lower on. I don't want him at captain. I will consider him at flex. I don't want more than 50% of him on my teams. I just have that much faith in Alexander and the Green Bay Packers to try and slow down Aiyuk. And quite frankly, the 49ers watched the game versus the Packers last week when Dalvin Cook ran for 4 touchdowns on them. They're going to try and establish the run. When they're down, yes, eventually they're going to have to throw, but they're going to need to find someone else besides Aiyuk unless he can beat Alexander, which he's not going to be able to do more times than Alexander is going to beat him, in my opinion. Underneath him, Jerick McKinnon, I talked about him earlier, should be used in the passing down back role here, $12,000 at the captain. So he finds himself in a bit of a Wayne Gallman situation. He's the running back on a team that might be splitting carries, that might lose the game, but can still be useful for scoring fantasy points, especially if he's catching passes, 4 for 4 last week. The beginning of the season, I already mentioned earlier, was good in the passing down role. That was when Tevin Coleman's out. Tevin Coleman's out again this game, and you're going to have to figure your legs out, McKinnon. They're not tired anymore. They can't be. They're going to have to use you. You got to show up. Dalvin Cook put a 4 on the Green Bay Packers last week. Jerick McKinnon, if he can get 1, he's a viable captain as a punt captain. If I made 10 teams, I might put him on 1 at the captain and see what happens. I like him a lot over at the flex position. You're probably going to want one of those San Francisco running backs. You're either going to want him or Hasty, I would think. Again, you can target the Packers on the ground. Mozart out. Deebo Samuel out. Alan Lazard might be in. So he's still got the IR designation by his name on DraftKings, but he could play this game. He's been practicing in limited fashion. I think he can get in here. If he does get in, then he's fine at 11,100. I probably don't want him at captain, but you can look over at him at the flex position, no problem. Pair him up with Rodgers. They've got no running backs over there. They're going to have to throw the ball, but make sure Lazard is going and make sure Lazard is at full health. MVS is at full health. You want Lazard at full health. Tonyan's at full health. You want Lazard at full health. Underneath him, you have Hasty. I don't want him at the captain. He's the running back one for the San Francisco 49ers. They will try and establish the run. They will try and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. $10,800. I'll consider him over at the flex instead. If you play him over at the flex, it's going to be $7,200. He's looked decent enough. 12 carries last game for 29 yards against Seattle. Okay, not great given that, but he got double-digit points, 10.1 points. That might be enough to do it on a slate. Where Vegas thinks the total is going to be 50.5, that's the over-under. Seems a little high for me when I'm so down on both of these offenses, but we saw what Dalvin Cook did against the Packers. Yet again, I'll say that one of these running backs should have a good enough day to make it as your flex position on your DraftKings lineup. So Hasty and McKinnon, both good. Don't hate playing them both. I would prefer McKinnon because of the pass down role, and I think people come off him more because he's a little more expensive and he doesn't get it done on the ground. He has -1 rushing yards in the past 2 games, but also the 49ers have not been leaning on him where they might have to lean on him more this game. So I prefer McKinnon. Hasty's a fine play too. Jeff Wilson Jr. is out for the San Francisco 49ers. You've got Bob Tonyan. Some people call him Robert Tonyan. That's wrong. His name's Robert Tonyan. That's how you pronounce it, Tonyan. But I call him Bob. So Bob Tonyan, $6,400, had a couple breakout games, three breakout games at the beginning of the season, won 3-touchdown game in prime time. We all remember that. He was your captain that night. But of course, you did not have Adams in the game. Let me decline that call. Sorry. You didn't have Adams in the game. So he gets a tick down, but they're also going to have to keep throwing the ball here for the Green Bay Packers. So he's a good price at $6,400. He's the tight end one there. He's better than Sternberger. I know Sternberger's been a little bit more involved lately, but Tonyan's a guy that can get in the end zone for sure and can get targeted 6 to 8 times here in this game where Rodgers is going to be looking to throw it. I like him at the flex position. If you want to get wild, you can throw him in a captain spot because it worked that one time. He's not getting 3 touchdowns again with Adams in the game, but he could have himself a fine day. Fine. Kendrick Bourne out. Jimmy Garoppolo out. Backup quarterbacks, who cares? Jordan Reed, $5,800. At the flex spot, he might actually play. So he practiced limited on Tuesday. The camps closed today because of the COVID-related issues. He could get back in, and if he gets back in, they're going to use him because San Francisco has nobody to catch the ball. $5,800 for Jordan Reed. You could do a lot worse, but you want to make sure he's in the game, and you want to make sure he's close to 100% as he can be. At the beginning of the season, the first 3 games, he did good one game, bad the other 2, depending on what you consider bad. I mean, he got targeted 6 times, 8 times, 2 times. Catching most of those, except for week 3 against the Giants, he had a down game. He had a 2-touchdown game against the Jets, but it's the Jets. I don't think he's going to go out and blow up the Green Bay Packers, but he's a guy that when they get down in the red zone, if they get down in the red zone, he's a tall fella. He's going to get targeted in the red zone. You could do a lot worse. The Packers defense is $5,200. Don't hate it at all. A little more expensive than I wanted to see going to San Francisco, but you're going up against Mullens, who can turn it over. You're going up against 2 running backs that could turn it over, and you're going up against no wide receivers. The Green Bay Packers, they could stymie the San Francisco 49ers here. I don't hate that at all. I'll remind you that the guy who almost won the Millionaire Maker contest played 2 defenses at the flex position in one lineup, then lost $975,000, more than that, so like $993,000, something like that, because one of the sacks got pulled off in a stat correction at the end of the game, and the guy lost $1 million. It was sick. You read about that on Twitter. Packers are okay. Ross Dwelley is going to be the starting tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. $4,800. He's going to be used in this game. If I'm scared of Aiyuk being covered by Alexander, that only leaves Trent Taylor, Ross Dwelley, and potentially Jordan Reed and Jerick McKinnon. Ross Dwelley's a really good play on this slate. $4,800. You're going to have the salary for him. He's going to be involved here. When Kittle was in the game, obviously he was not, but when Kittle is out of the game, Ross Dwelley gets a big old boost up. Nick Mullens is going to be looking for his man Ross Dwelley, one of my favorite plays on the slate. If you want to play the 49ers defense at $3,800, go for it. I won't have a lot of them. You can play the kickers too. I probably don't want any Robbie Gould. I'd probably go more Green Bay kicking. They're okay. The prices are pretty good on your kickers and better on your kickers than your defenses, I would say. I would lean the Green Bay side there. Next up, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Big disappointment for the past 2 seasons. Essentially, everyone always talks him up at the beginning of the season, and then he always lets you down. He's $3,400. If Lazard plays, he's not as good. I mean, look, has he done anything this season? No. He's broken double digits once. It was the first game against Minnesota. He got 19.6 fantasy points. I mean, it's a total dart throw. Like, if you want a low-owned guy that could get you there, you can go with MVS, but it's not someone I have a ton of love for. Underneath him, just underneath him, is Sternberger, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers, $1,800. He's decent. He's been involved, but I like the guys underneath him that are cheaper that are going to have a bigger role. So let's talk about those guys. You've got Trent Taylor, who's going to be the wide receiver 2 for the San Francisco 49ers. He's $400, and he's going to be used in this game. You can leave salary on the table in this game. I will say it again. He's $400. I like him a lot. He's one of the only 2 wide receivers on the 49ers that I have any trust in, and I don't like Aiyuk as much as I do other weeks because of the matchup, so it's got to be Trent Taylor. It's got to be Dwelley. It's got to be McKinnon, something like that. Look at Trent Taylor pretty hard. Now, we've got 2 running backs on the Green Bay side that both cost $200. I mean, they're both free. Tyler Ervin, Dexter Williams. We don't know who's starting yet. They're both going to exceed value. If you want to use both on the same team, I can't fault you for it, but that means you're paying up for Rodgers, you're paying up for Adams. That means you've got Mullens, and then you've got someone else expensive, and then you've got a similar team to other people, I would think. And using 2 running backs against San Francisco with a quarterback and Adams doesn't make a ton of sense if you're just trying to play the game script out in your head. So if you can't make up your mind between these 2 guys, if you're playing $10, do yourself a favor, play 2 $5 teams, make the same lineup, and just switch out the running backs for the Green Bay Packers and kind of hedge your bet there. I don't know who's starting yet. It's not announced, so I can't tell you Irvin or Williams. So obviously you probably want to go with the starter, but I'll tell you when the starter gets in there, and if he's not effective, he's going to get pulled out for the next guy, and that's just the way it's going to be for the Green Bay Packers tomorrow. Trying to see if there's anyone else down here that I would have any interest in whatsoever that is super cheap. I really don't. Keep an eye on the news about what other wide receiver for the 49ers is going to play. They're going to have to call someone up. They're going to have to do something. Keep an eye on if the game plays. We hope the game plays. The game should play. The line has gone from minus 2.5 for the Packers to minus 6. Vegas thinks the Packers win. David thinks the Packers win. A lot of people think the Packers win. And that is a huge jump up, but a lot of that is due to the COVID-related stuff. So, again, please smash the like button. If you made it all the way through this video, I appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Please come over to FTN Daily and FTN Bets and check us out over there. We're crushing over there. Check out the screenshots. I know you're seeing them on Twitter. We're trying to help you guys out while we make a little money for ourselves. I appreciate it, guys, and hopefully we have football tomorrow. Thanks for watching.